Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? It's One with the Truth, and I'm going to go ahead and read an article and maybe give my thoughts on it. China is waking up. I found this article, and most of us who pay attention to this know that it only is logical, and it makes sense that China knows, first of all, what's going on, and sooner or later is gonna, or has been, preparing to dump the dollar and get out of it as their reserves, because they have $2 trillion in reserves. $2 trillion in reserves, and we know that the U.S. is dumping our currency down the drain. And so here's an article that explains how China's waking up and what they're doing. China State Reserves Bureau, the SRB, has instead been buying copper and other industrial metals over recent months on a scale that appears to go beyond the usual rebuilding of stocks for commercial reasons. Nobu Su, head of Taiwan's TMT Group, which ships commodities to China, said Beijing is trying to extricate itself from dollar dependency as fast as it can. China has woken up, he said. The West is a black hole with all this money being printed. The Chinese are buying raw materials because it is a much better way to use their $1.9 trillion of reserves. They get 10 times the impact and can cover their infrastructure for 50 years. He also said the next industrial revolution is going to be led by hybrid cars, and that needs copper. You can see the subtle way that China is moving into 30 or 40 countries with resources. The SRB has also been accumulating aluminum, zinc, nickel, rarer metals such as titanium, indium, thin film technology, rhodium, which is catalytic converters, and praseodymium, which is glass. While it makes sense for China to take advantage of last year's commodity crash to restock cheaply, there is clearly more behind the move. He said they are definitely buying metals to diversify out of U.S. treasuries and dollar holdings, said Jim Lennon, head of commodities at Macquarie Bank. John Reed, metals chief at UBS, said Beijing may have made strategic decision to stockpile metal as an alternative to foreign bonds. He said, "We're very surprised by Chinese demand. They're buying much more copper than they will need this year. If this is strategic, there may be no effective limit on the purchases, as China's pockets are pretty deep." Zhu Zichuan, the central bank governor, piqued the interest of metal buffs last month by calling for a world currency modeled on the Bancor floated by the John Maynard Keynes at Bretton Woods in 1944. The Bancor was to be anchored on 30 commodities, a broader base than the gold standard, which had caused so much grief in the 1930s. Mr. Zhao said such a currency would prevent the sort of credit-based excess that has brought the global finance to its knees. If his thoughts reflect Communist Party thinking, it would explain the bizarre moves in commodity markets over recent weeks. Copper prices have surged 49% this year to $4,925 a ton, despite estimates by the CRU Copper Group that world demand will fall 15 to 20% this year as construction wilts. Analysts say short covering by funds betting on price falls has played a role. Industrial demand cannot explain this. Chinese has been badly hit by this global recession. Its exports, almost half its GDP, fell 17% in March. While Beijing's fiscal stimulus package and credit expansion has helped lift demand, China faces a property downturn of its own. One government advisor warned this week that house prices could fall 50%. One thing is clear, though. Beijing expects that the U.S. Federal Reserve is engineering a covert default on America's debt by printing money. You hear that? Beijing suspects that the U.S. Federal Reserve is engineering a covert default on America's debt by printing money. That's couldn't have said it better myself. Premier Wen Jiabao issued a blunt warning last month that China was tiring of U.S. bonds. He said, "We have lent a huge amount of money to the U.S., so of course we are concerned about the safety of our assets. This is slightly disingenuous. China has the world's largest reserves of 1.95 trillion, mostly in dollars, because it has been holding the yuan to boost exports. This mercantilist strategy has reached its limits. The beauty of recycling China's surplus into metals instead of U.S. bonds is that it kills so many birds with one stone. It stops the yuan rising without provoking complaints of currency manipulation by Washington. Metals are easily stored in warehouses, unlike oil. The holdings are likely to rise in value over time since the Earth's crust is gradually depleting its accessible ores. Above all, such a policy safeguards China's industrial revolution, while the West may one day face a supply crisis. Beijing may yet buy gold as well, though, although it has not been done yet. The gold share of reserves has fallen to 1%, far below the historic norm in Asia. But if a metal-based currency ever emerges to end the reign of fiat paper, it is just as likely to be a copper standard as a gold standard. And so we see China is preparing. They know what's going on. When you see the media spinning, oh, we're coming back and the government is now trying to make the dollar stronger, etc., don't believe that crap. It is nothing but crap. Our government is destroying our dollar. That, plain and simple. We've printed and committed $12.8 trillion in the last 6 months. It's over. There is no way we can repay that. Our dollar is going down. My suggestion is, buy food storage, buy some water filters, get some pepper spray, get a taser, get a gun. Maybe if you have a lot of money, get some gold and silver in your physical coins, and prepare spiritually and mentally. That's going to be important. Anyways, that's a little update for today. Rate, favorite, and subscribe, and have a good day. Stay alert, stay informed, and stay tuned. Take care.